Welcome to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. Each week on this program, Jeff and his guests share their expertise, personal anecdotes, and the latest industry news to keep you in the loop. Now, to provide you with insight and help you navigate the consistently changing world of real estate lending, here is your host for The Mortgage Voice, Jeff Barton.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your voice for the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929. That's the telephone number. If you pick up the phone and you give us a call, we can talk to you about your mortgage. Now, I know mortgage is not the most attractive or the most glitzy or sexy thing to talk about, but if you're out there right now and you're sitting on a 6 or 7% mortgage and you've been asleep for the last 6 or 7 years, you probably don't realize that mortgage interest rates are still historically low. If you're one of these people, you need to pick up the phone, 888-713-2929. That's our telephone number. Now, at Malibu Funding, the company that sponsors the show, we probably have 40 different loan officers. Pictures, profiles, resumes, everything you want to see on the company website, and I'm going to give you their company website at www.malibufunding.net. Now, there are many people who come on the show each and every week, week after week, year after year, who don't work for Malibu Funding, and you can call them too. Today, we've got a great lineup for the show. We have Bambi Olszewnik. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I'm sorry. It's Olesheuk. Now, Bambi is a real estate agent. She works in the Los Angeles, San Bernardino, Riverside areas, and she's going to talk about what's going on in the market. Market's changed. We talked about it last week. There's further evidence that it's going to change a little bit more, so I want to get her to update us about what is going on in the real estate market. And she works for Dilbeck, real estate company. And Louis Carranza is going to come on the show. He works for LendSure. He's another company that's going to come on and talk to you guys about what's going on in the loan business, what kind of products his company delivers and offers at LendSure. It's another non-QM, but also a regular loan company. It's a wholesale lender, and he'll be able to talk about some of the programs that are out there right now to be able to help you, talk about the rates and where we might see the economy going. And also Dr. Jeannie Bertoli is going to come on, and I wanted to talk now about things that happen in your life to be able to interrupt you from your march towards wherever the heck you're going. It's fall. It's September, early September 2018, and a lot of people are, set for the year, right? Kids are in school, the job's okay, the economy's pretty good. We're reading a little bit about how the economy is going to falter when it does falter, but right now everything's going pretty well. What happens if a catastrophic health emergency happens in your family? Let's say somebody gets in a car accident, which just happened, by the way, a year ago. A processor that works for Malibu Funding's son fell asleep at the wheel. And he was, sideswiped by a truck and had to spend a good deal of time in the hospital. It was touch and go there for a while. He's back at work now a year later. But it was horrible and expensive. And there was no money coming in the door for the son, so he had to move back home. And so what happens to you when that happens? I know that there are certainly long-term illnesses that affect older Americans, whether it be heart attack or diabetes or cancer. Cancer certainly can strike anyone, as the other two can as well. But there are things that happen in family situations when it comes to health. And what happens to you? What happens to your plans? What happens to your ability to deal with it? And then also to be able to go to work each and every day, and maybe you're trying to get a house or get a mortgage, and what happens to these other very stressful events in your life when something unforeseen happens and you're sitting there wondering, oh my gosh, what else can happen? Well, I wanted to talk to Dr. Bertelli about that because it's happened probably to you, and you're sitting out there going, yeah, that's happened to me, and we were buying a house when it happened, or that's happened to me, and we were trying to get a mortgage for the loan. I know a lot of people look at mortgages as the most stressful time in your life, but it's not. But when you compound it with a health emergency or something that has happened to you in the moment where you just can't anticipate it happening. It happens, then what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to handle those stresses as well as life as it occurs each and every day? Let's get to news to use. In the show, each and every week, we talk about some of the news items that come to my attention through Mortgage News Daily, one of the sites that we use. It's a terrific site, and I really appreciate their efforts each and every week. Matthew Graham is one of the authors of the mortgage rates, and what we've seen this week is same as last week, is mortgage rates haven't moved that much, but they have ticked down a little bit, as well as the real estate market inventory has ticked up. So we've got a couple of converging events that are happening, which I think play well for anybody who's waited or who has basically had to wait because they couldn't afford something in the summer or couldn't afford something in the spring. Well, right now we've got inventory that's increasing and prices that are falling, as well as real estate mortgage rates that are also falling a bit. So your 30-year fixed rates at 4.625% to 4.75%. Now, that's still pretty low. You know that the Fed has raised rates 3 times this year, probably raised rates, let's see, it's September, maybe definitely one more time, if not 2. But we should see, and I've said this several times a year from now, another point higher in the interest rates. This isn't just my opinion. It's the opinion of a lot of people who are watching the economy. And as I often do, especially in good times, and there are a lot of people that do the same thing. They want to be the first in the door to say, I told you so. And that is, of course, they never say that when the economy is going poorly, that I was the first to tell you it was going to go well. There's a lot of doomsayers out there. There's a lot of naysayers, a lot of people that would tell you that it's about ready to, the other shoe's about ready to drop. But we did read today that there is an economist in England, and he talked a little bit about the coming recession and what it would look like, or the coming, catastrophe in the economic markets and what that would look like. And I think it was an interesting read. You can go online and look to the EBB, which is an acronym for what I can't remember right now, but it's not important. What he said was important, and what he said was, look, what we've got here is issues having to do with the housing bubble. We've got issues having to do with monetary input, meaning what happens when more and more countries start to print more and more money. And what's backing that is usually the local economies. And then, of course, what happens in unrest when let's say what's happening right now in the U.S. Now, it always seems to happen like this every 2 years, every 4 years, that what we've got is the most important election or the most volatile times in the history. Well, I can say honestly that right now we've probably got that in terms of what's going on politically. You're either for or against, right? And that's the way it lines up. There's no person who could say, well, I like some of this, but not some of that. It's either for or against. And it's divided the country, it's divided the dinner table, it's divided households. So when you get into situations where you're expressing an opinion about something, you oftentimes get people in your face expressing the exact opposite of the opinion. I don't know if anybody keeps up with the sports world, but Colin Kaepernick has been named as one of the spokespeople and the ad campaign for Nike. Colin Kaepernick was one of the guys who was championing the kneel-down protest, Black Lives Matter situation in the NFL, and to bring attention to that political issue. I don't care whether he kneels or not. It's just, I don't care. I personally stand for the national anthem, but if he doesn't want to, it doesn't matter to me. But if I even was to say that in certain circumstances, you would get a lot of people opposing that, and they'd get a big brouhaha. Anyway, he is now the spokesman for Nike, and there are people lining up to and fro. Now, Nike is a corporation. It's not a political entity. So why would a corporation do something which would appear to be political in nature? Obviously, it has to do with their wanting to be on everybody's lips, especially in the last week or so, or going forward in the next week or so. Start a football season. These things are important to corporations, to be able to be on everybody's lips, be at obviously having people buy their products. This is what's important. And in an economy which really depends upon what's going on in each and every company and buying and selling products. A company making a political statement in an election year, in an economy that's booming, tells you something, and this is one of the points to what the guy was saying in England. He was saying that as a result of these particular issues being brought up again and again, we're going to be at the cusp of what he would say in the next year, 18 months, of a faltering economy. We'll get into it a little bit later. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry, 888-713-2929. That's the telephone number. Pick up the phone and give us a call. We talk about mortgage, your mortgage. Hey, interest rates are going up, but they're not skyrocketing. I mean, it's still an unbelievable deal if you look historically, under 5% for most 30-year fixed. So if you're out there and you're thinking about a refi and you've got an interest rate up above 5.5%, this is really a good thing for you. Maybe you want to take some money out of your house too. You got medical emergency. Maybe you want to put some money away, invest in a property for long-term, income, things that you need to have money for on hand. All kinds of great ways that you can use your house in order to get money out of it. So if you're in that world, and if you're that kind of person right now, pick up the phone and give us a call. Email info@malibufunding.net. And again, I'm Jeff Barton. We bring to the show all kinds of great people. Today is no exception. Bambi Oleshik is on the show. She's from Dilbeck Real Estate Realtors, and I've asked her to come on the show. First off, Bambi, how are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm just terrific. Thank you very much. I've asked Bambi to come on the show because she gives a kind of a unique perspective as to what's going on in the real estate world. And we've not really had somebody from Dilbeck on, so I wanted to get somebody else on. Bambi, where do you do most of your real estate business here in Southern California?
Mostly in the San Fernando Valley.
Right. Okay. So, and you've been at it for a long, long time, right?
Approximately 30-plus years.
Oh, man, you know what? You need a vacation. I can tell right now. So tell us, and what I wanted you on, because you have a perspective of many different markets. What kind of market are we in right now?
Well, right now I would say the market is softening. As we get into the holidays, that typically happens.
Right.
And that's where we're headed right now.
Do you think it's a long-term trend? Do you think what we're experiencing here is more than just seasonal? I read a little bit that it might be.
Part of me has that feeling. I feel like we've had a lot of investors go in and flip properties,
Yep.
and they're expecting high rates of returns. And I think people are getting a little turned off to that, and they're kind of softening the market. That, with the interest rates going up a little bit, I think it's kind of scaring people, and they want to see where things are going.
Right.
And then, of course, there's the midterm election that everybody looks at anyway, and the stock market, and, they take all those factors in.
I've been kicking around the idea that the election itself and politics in general is distracting a lot of people from what might be a great opportunity here in the fall, because what we're seeing is obviously more houses on the market than have been in the last couple of years, and we're seeing less buyers, which means there's probably an opportunity out there for someone who's been patient.
This is true. This is absolutely true, and I agree with you on that 100%. I feel as though people are confused over the new law that was passed regarding the what's it called?
Short-term capital gains?
Yes, that one.
Okay.
I think they're a little confused about that. I also think that, especially in California, they're not thinking that the tax deduction is going to be as great as it used to be.
Right, that's
true.
true.
I think they're watching.
Mm-hmm. I think the mortgage interest rate deduction is a concern for anybody who's buying a house over $500,000, which is, in our area, a majority of the people. As you know, the show's being broadcast in San Bernardino, Riverside, and up in the Tahoe area. But all of those stations bleed into Los Angeles County, Orange County. So when we're talking about, obviously the real estate market, what's going on, what's heading forward, whether it's an increase or a decrease in prices, what are you seeing about prices in your inventories?
Well, from what I've seen, and I've been going out to the San Bernardino County area and
Right.
Ventura County lately, especially, I'm seeing that everything is holding its own. It's all staying the same. Nothing is going up. In fact, there's been a lot of price reductions in every area.
I agree.
Things on the market a lot longer than they have been.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Now, do you think sellers are going to wake up early? You know how it takes about 4 to 6 months for a seller to go, hey, my price is probably too high. It's not selling. Do you think this market's going to be any different? Do you think prices will come down a lot more quickly?
I don't think they'll come down quickly. I think they will if we wait another month or two. I think
Right.
we're going to see a drop, mostly because people want to get out and into something prior to the holidays or the first of the year, so they can still have all those deductions that you get with the mortgage, the
Mortgage interest rate
escrow,
deduction,
everything.
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So
What-
they're going to want to get in quickly. However, they're going to have to reduce their prices, and I
Yeah.
think that right now we're looking at it slow. It's slowly coming down, and people are slowly waking up. And I think they'll get a big slap in the face by, say, October.
Yeah, it's funny. Now it's not funny that there's an election, but like I say, depending on what happens at the election, you could have a burst in people wanting to go out and buy if their particular candidate wins. And I think here in California, it's pretty obvious who the majority of people in California want to win.
That's true.
So, that could increase sales just because people are happy and they want to go out and spend money. Although the economy is doing really well. I don't know about your business, but why don't you, tell us about your business. How is your business? What's happening?
My business is pretty good. I work
Right.
with a lot of first-time buyers, and I work with a lot of investors. And
Okay.
investors are still going strong, and first-time buyers are being a little more cautious, but they want to get in on the market. What I'm not seeing is the older people that typically either downsize
Right.
when they become empty nesters, or people buying something bigger. I'm seeing less of those. They get into the market and they're a little more afraid to sell and move up just because of the pricing.
Okay. So when you're working with a buyer, what's your strength? Everybody has different things that they do that is a little bit different than other real estate agents. But when you work with a buyer, what is your strength? What do you say is your number one, selling point when you're talking to a buyer? About yourself?
Well, I feel that I listen. I listen to what they want and what they need, and I show them properties based on that.
Okay.
And I try to look outside the box that if they say they want a purple roof, and I might find one a little blue with a hint of purple, that might, I'll show them that. But I pretty much take into consideration what their needs are, what their family is like, and what they're planning on doing in the future.
Right.
So I think listening is the big thing. I think
agree.
that's my biggest strength. And caring, absolutely caring about what happens and where these people go and what is going to happen to them in the future. Are they
Right.
going to be able to sell it? Are they going to end up selling it for lower than what they bought it for? And I really take time to care about that, to care about the human being process, involved in buying a house.
Well, you would have to be. I mean, being in the business for as long as you have, there is no easy way around the stress that you have to. Obviously, each and every deal has its stresses in it, right? So
True.
how do you manage the stress and still remain, obviously, not jaded and open and caring? I mean, that to me is really at the crux of what makes a terrific agent.
Yeah, I really fight for my client. So I try to keep all the stress off of them, and I
Right.
take all the stress in. And I will take it, and I'll fight for it, and I'll do what needs to be done so that they think they're in a very smooth transaction. And at the end of that keeps me calm, and that keeps me grounded. And so,
Yeah,
and
well-
of course, my daughter keeps me grounded. So,
Well, that's nice. Yeah, that's very nice. Being someone who is a working person who's obviously got family, and that's at the heart of most sales are that people want to move into a home. They just don't want to buy a house, right?
that's correct. They're looking for what they had growing up a lot of times.
Right.
You know, they grew up with a family and a home, and they want to create that for themselves and then start their families or grow their families. And,
Right.
you know, that's what you've got to help them with. It's not just buying a building.
You know, I
Buying a
agree.
lifestyle.
Hey, Bambi, we're running up against the clock. You want to shout out your phone number for those on the radio who are listening and want a great real estate agent?
Great. Yeah, you can reach me at 818-406-7144 or bambisbestbuys@gmail.com.
That's excellent. Bambi, thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. We'll do it again.
Anytime. Thanks, Jeff.
And thank you very much. And I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929. That's the telephone number. Pick up the phone and give us a call. We talk to you about your mortgage, about your mortgage payment. Hey, do you think your mortgage payment is too high? You probably need somebody to talk to you because maybe you can lower your payment. Hey, interest rates did tick down a little bit. I mean, they're not huge wholesale down ticks, but let's say you're in a interest-only product, that the product has come due after a 10-year fixed amount, and you're about ready to see your entire mortgage rate rise by a point. Wouldn't you like to get a second opinion as to whether you can keep your low payment or whether you can maybe get into a 30-year fixed? Well, there are plenty of people out there to do that, but here at the Mortgage Voice, who is, our company, Malibu Funding, funds the show, and we want to thank them each and every week for doing that. But they've got a ton of people on their website. Go to malibufunding.net and look at the over 35, 40 loan officers that could probably give you a good quote. So if you're out there right now and you're in this kind of situation, it's a great time to refi. Why? Because as I said, I think we're going to see rates probably rise maybe once, maybe twice in the next 6 months. So now is the time to do it. Okay, enough about that. We have with us today a great guy. Hadn't been on the show. I was laughing off air with him because I've known Louis for a number of years, and the show we've been on for at least 5, and we've never had him on the show. So from Lenshore Mortgage is Louis Carranza, and I really appreciate you finally coming on the show. Thanks, Louis.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate you. I think I've known you over 5 years, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'd say it's probably closer to 10.
Probably. Gee, where have I been? Sleeping under a rock. Okay, you have a great company. Tell us a little bit about Lenshore, what you guys do, what you specialize in, and how you can help my borrowers.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, Lenshore Mortgage, we specialize in the non-QM programs. So basically, these days, as you mentioned, with rates have been ticking up,
right.
Some people just don't quite qualify enough. Maybe they just not making enough money, or some of the self-employed borrowers tend to write off a little bit more than they're able to qualify and have to go with another alternative, which is one of the programs we have. The most popular one is bank statements.
Bank statement program, okay.
Bank statement program, yes. And we could use either 12 or 24 months bank statements, business or personal, and basically we'll average the deposits for that amount of time and then just come up with a monthly average and use that as income and to qualify for the self-employed borrowers. And we'll also go up a little bit higher on the debt-to-income ratio, go up to 50%, which also allows just that certain market right now that's having a little bit tougher time qualifying. So it's great on purchases. And we've got, we'll go up to 90% LTV on that, so 10% down. We've got some programs that are, and we also allow non-warrantable condos.
Non-warrantable. Explain what non-warrantable is for the listener who just has no idea.
Sure. Non-warrantable condos are basically condos that, for whatever reason, the HOA has an issue. It could be maybe there's litigation.
Right.
There's a lawsuit. Somebody slipped and fell. They're suing that. Another thing, maybe it's one condo owner that's having a situation with, whether it was the plumber that worked on the property,
right,
or the painter or something, and then it just becomes an issue with that. Anything that, the regular conventional Fannie or Freddie Mac loans deem as non-warrantable, they don't tend to lend on those, but we'll make the exception on it, within reason, as long as it's something that's not too serious, like structural damage, like, those
Right.
huge cracks, then that could be a problem. But yeah, you can run by the situation, find me every single case is case by case. Everyone's individual, and we'll do those. And also another thing is we're flexible on the NSFs and overdrafts, so non-sufficient funds. I know there's some lenders out there that if they see one of those, that's automatic deal killer, but that's not with us. We're very flexible about that and understanding about that as well.
So you've got a bank statement program that is forgiving on NSFs. That's good.
Correct.
Okay.
Forgiving on NSFs and flexible, non-warrantable as well.
Okay, that's excellent. How is this fall going? Everybody's struggling for loans. How's it going over there at LoanSure?
Yeah, at LoanSure, it's going good. I mean, we're actually picking up volume because
Great.
a lot of the conventional, rates, the rates kind of ticked up a little bit. And I agree with you. Probably in the next 6 months or so, probably going to see them pick up a little bit more. So it's time for people to act now. They want to purchase or refi. And then the non-traditional type of clients is where we're picking up with
Right.
the non-QM borrowers. We'll do foreign nationals.
Tell me a little bit about the Foreign National Program. I know that we do a lot of, at Malibu, we have a branch down in Florida, so we get a lot of Brazilian clients who are foreign nationals. Tell us a little bit about yours.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the Foreign National Program, it's a great program that we have for people who are, foreign nationals, or even on ITIN numbers, we'll do that. We'll use some of those. There'll be second homes or non-owners as well for those type of borrowers. And we can use either U.S. credit, they have a minimum FICO score, or we'll take foreign credit. Obviously, if somebody's from another country and they don't have any credit here in the U.S., that's okay.
How does that work, Louis? Do you ask for a bank letter? Do you look at their bank statements from, let's say, Banco Brazil, for instance?
Yeah. For example, we'll do that. We can get some reference letters from some of the creditors that they use, since they won't show up on our credit, but we'll see that. And also for their income, also their version of a CPA or tax preparer will ask for a letter of that as far as what their employment has been, since obviously we can't, verify their income over there. The thing is, and why we get around it is we ask for a little bit more down. We want 75% max loan to value, so they got to put 25% down or more. And then we do ask for a little bit more on the reserves, 12 months.
Okay.
PI reserves.
Do those have to be deposited in a U.S. bank, the reserves?
They do in the last 30 days. It doesn't have to be like a 60-day season or anything lengthy like that.
Okay.
During the transaction, they can kind of set that up, and then by the time of closing, we have it in a U.S. institution here, and then we're fine with that.
Louis, where do you see the market heading? I mean, we're going into a political season, which always throws everybody into a bit of a stir. They take their eyes off the ball of what's happening in the financial markets, a lot of it, at least the general public. What do you think we're heading in terms of rates and programs? Do you see an expansion in programs over at LoanSure, or what?
I do. I see an expansion in that because I think the market is going to be, ticking up in the next 6 months or so, and it's going to be either people who haven't refied now, and they should jump on it right now if they haven't already, because within the next 6 months or so, it's going to go up, making it a little bit harder for people to qualify. And I do see the market changing, a little bit more flexibility because of that. Anytime you see the market slow down, investors get a little bit more aggressive. They want a little bit bigger piece of the pie. So you see a lot more of these type of non-QM programs, even, stated income, if you will, within reason.
What do you guys do with the loans? I know you can't sell them to Fannie or Freddie or Ginnie, so do you have an outside investor? Do you service all your own product? How does that work?
Yeah, we've got several investors that we deal with. There's some of them are hedge funds, some of our private banking that they like the rate of return on some of these loans, so we sell them off to them.
I see.
And that's, they actually love them because the servicing it's been going really well. The default value on these is pretty low.
Yeah, it's really low. I mean, we have one of the lowest default percentages on non-QM loans than we've ever had. I mean, obviously non-QM's only been around since 2010, but at the same time, I mean, you're 1.5% or lower in terms of default rate, which is great.
Yes, It is, and a lot of people think, they're still thinking it's 2006, 2007 that default, but no, that's gone. There's a lot more criteria that borrowers need to meet to be able to do it and show that they have an ability to repay, and that's part of why that default ratio is very low.
Well, also, you don't have Fannie and Freddie and Ginnie buying these loans. These are all private market loans. You don't sell these to the government.
Correct. These are all private money, banks, hedge funds, that sort.
Hey, Louis, we're up against the clock. You got a phone number you could shout out and tell people how they can get a hold of you if they want to talk to you about some of these great products?
Yes, absolutely. If you've got any questions or scenarios, feel free to give me a call. I'll give you my number. It's area code 310-658-8870.
Okay, very good. This has been Louis Carranza from Lenshore Mortgage, right? Lenshore Mortgage.
Correct.
And really appreciate Louis coming on the show. About time we did this.
Oh, you're very welcome. I appreciate your time and letting me come on.
Thank you very much. Okay, very well. And I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry, 888-713-2929. That's the telephone number. Pick up the phone and give us a call. We talk about mortgages, your mortgage, your need to get a mortgage. Maybe you need to refinance. You're buying a house. You're selling a house. Oh, boy, I'm out of breath just talking about all the things we need to help you with, because you're out there right now thinking, who's going to help me? Well, we certainly can. If you listen to the show each and every week, we do give you some solutions. We give you some reason to think, to ponder, maybe pick up the phone, maybe to interview one more person because you were thinking of just going with the first person you saw. All of these things are important because slowing down the process, thinking about what's going on is incredibly important, especially when you're talking about the most important financial decision of most people who buy a house. In that process, there's always things that jump in the way, right? You're driving down the street, a dog runs in front of your car, what happens, right? You have decisions to make. Well, in the mortgage world, we have all kinds of things that happen. You have real estate, you have your own personal family, you have things that happen along the way. One of the things we talked at the Jump Street of the show, the first thing was, the health of you, your family, the individuals involved is incredibly stressful, especially if you have something that goes on. And I brought Dr. Jeannie Bertoli to the show today. Dr. Bertoli, how are you?
Jeff, so good to be back. Thanks for having me.
And thank you very much. I wanted to talk a little bit about what happens to a family, even if the family's small, if it's big, when there's a health issue that happens, whether it's a sickness, whether it's, somebody gets hit by a car. What happens in those situations to the family, especially when there's other stressful things going on, like buying a house or getting a mortgage? What happens?
Families really handle this in different manners. Some families, absolutely, I would say most of them, kind of stop. The majority of life issues, things like getting a mortgage, things like buying a house, so those progressions in our lives.
Right.
Those things we tend to stop when a crisis occurs. It's almost like a freeze.
Right.
Because we're trying to just deal with, what is this new information? How am I going to handle it? Am I going to be okay? Or are my loved ones going to be okay? So what matters shifts
Right.
quite dramatically, actually. And so things that are our goals and really, really matter to us take second position or third position or become tertiary.
Right.
Compared to the crisis of the moment, especially when it's, like you said, some health crisis or some car accident or something that becomes all that matters.
Right. In that, you're in a mortgage or you're trying to get a house and you're in the middle of a contract and you're just, and then something happens. Do you have anything that might be able to help people just a little bit other than just throwing their hands up and saying, I'm out?
Absolutely. Try to, my first thing, honest, Jeff, just caring about your listeners, is to take a deep breath and to really honor your process, your loved ones. Take that breath to really be honoring of what's going on, and you don't want to discount. Everything's going to matter. And sometimes when we focus on a mortgage in the middle of a health crisis or in the middle of a car accident, we can judge ourselves and feel, well, how can I be so materialistic or superficial or worldly?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, everything can matter, everything can progress, and it can be okay if we take that breath and say, I'm going to be there with my loved one, whatever the crisis is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still going to sell my house, buy a house, be in that mortgage process. But it does shift. You can feel it, right? Like it shifts things. But it doesn't mean that it's an all or nothing proposition. It just means that we can take that breath. And if I could advise again, take maybe 10 breaths.
Right.
And just be and know it's okay to handle more than one thing at once, to have more than one thing that matters at once,
mm-hmm.
and that your loved ones ultimately always care about you progressing in your life as much as they matter, as this crisis matters. They also care very deeply that you continue on with your own growth.
You know, in my own family, we have health issues and we have things that move forward. As most people who are out there who listen to the show each and every week, they're looking for the best real estate deal. They're looking to make a few bucks. But when these things do occur, people in the family, in the system, handle it a little bit differently, right? The husband may handle it differently. The wife may handle it differently. The significant other may handle it differently. I know that in my own case, when things like this do occur, I actually like the distraction a little bit because it takes my mind off the immediacy of the pending or impending or, the crisis. If I can just get away mentally for a little bit, it helps.
Yes.
So
that's very normal.
Yeah.
Liking the distraction is very normal.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and the problem is that it gets into its own issues, right? Because you have...
It does get into its own issues. I was just going to say, sometimes there's a male-female thing that you're describing.
Right.
That the male may want to enjoy that distraction, and the female may be more concerned about how that's viewed by the loved one in crisis.
Right.
If it's not you, like in my case, it's my mother who's in a health crisis, and so I may be more concerned with how my mother might view my distraction or my focus on a business proposition, because I would never want her to feel, never in a million years, would I want her to feel as though she is not my top priority, or all that, not even just top priority, she is all that matters.
Right, yeah.
Right, the only priority. So it is a very big issue that comes up with couples, is that we grieve differently, we process crises differently, and you don't want to lose your most important relationship.
Right.
In the process of these other goals, or in the process of progressing with goals or dealing with the crisis.
Okay, let's break away from that topic just for a little bit and talk about you. What's happening with you? How is your real estate world? And, you're still having success, great success? I'm sure you are.
As you know, I have 7 properties now.
Yes, I do.
Because Jeff's world is not just, I'm a former psychotherapist, now a life coach, and Jeff's world has become my world. I own 7 properties. I have 5 of them paid off now.
Wow, that's
which
great.
Which is a change, I think, since the last time we met.
That's great.
I'm on task. Property number 6, which I got a 30-year mortgage a year and a couple of months ago. It will be paid off by its 2nd-year anniversary.
Wow.
30-year mortgage paid off in exactly 2 years, because I'm on task and I'm ready to go. So that'll be 6 out of 7 properties that are paid off, and my 7th is on a prepayment schedule that'll be paid off on its own schedule. So I'm doing well in that regard.
Great.
My finances and my real estate world is amazing.
Now, strategy. Why pay off your homes? I know that there are many people out there who say debt is your friend. What do you say?
Right. So I say this. You're only allowed to take off 1 property on your taxes. So I take my most expensive property, which is my condo in Washington, D.C.,
right,
and I haven't paid that one off. The other ones are low-ticket items where if I want to have any rental income, any net income from my investment properties, I need to have those paid off. And so I've paid those off. And the one I live in Florida, in St. Pete, Hey, St. Pete.
Hey, St.
So
Pete.
I live in St. Pete. I want it off because there's no reason for the extra. There's just no reason to hold an extra mortgage.
I see. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
My strategy
Sure.
is don't waste money.
Right, and if you can get positive cash flow, and the only way you can do that is by paying it off, and you have the wherewithal to do that, yeah, why not do that?
Absolutely. And I still believe, I always will believe, live under your, have a monthly burn rate that is as low as possible.
Right.
And then you can have discretionary income as you wish, but you should always be spending, you should always have a surplus, and you should always be paying off debt, creating investments, leveraging that into being set for life.
Well, Dr. Bertoli, thank you very much on both fronts for educating and illuminating what you do and how you help people. I really appreciate it.
Such a pleasure to be here, Jeff. Thank you again for having me.
And thank you very much. And I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For questions or comments, send emails to info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry, 888-713-2929. That's the telephone number. If you pick up the phone and give us a call, we can talk to you about the mortgage, about real estate, about anything that has to do with improving the quality of your home. I'm going through a little bit of that right now at my house. We're doing some, I guess, fall fix-up, I guess is what I would call it. I did look online today to see what you could do in order to fix up your own house in the fall. Just things that maybe not cost a ton of dough, but maybe you're looking around and saying, you know what, I need to do something. Maybe the kids have gotten you crazy. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, you know, I haven't changed the look of this room in 25 years. Maybe it's about time we repaint a wall or whatever. So I printed out from our lovely internet friend some of the best top 10 suggestions as to what you could possibly do to spruce up the house, make it look a little better. And I want to bring Daryl in to see if he can. Now, I have not previewed all these, and I have to be very cautious as to what the heck they might be. But maybe you could give us an idea. What do you think you would do in order to make your particular beautiful home a little different, a little spruce up, a little make it look nicer, especially if you're thinking about selling?
Get rid of the paneling.
Get rid of the paneling. So, like, change the walls?
Yeah, the 60s paneling's got to come down.
Oh, you know what? The 60s paneling.
And the shag carpet.
It's just the worst. You know, we had, and it's funny you say that, my sister, who just turned 70 this year, went back to our natal home in Southborough, Massachusetts this year. She lives in Georgia. She brought her 4 kids and their grandkids. There must have been an army of them. So she got the owner or somebody in the town that we used to live in, of course we haven't been back there in 100 years, to let them into the old house.
Wow.
Unbelievable, right? So
Yeah.
she went in and, somebody had spent a lot of money and the house was beautiful, right? But I remember that wood paneling from when, in the 60s, when we originally redid the house back in the 60s from when it was built in the 40s. Ugly.
Yeah, my mother's house got refurbished after she passed away, and me and my brother and my sister helped put up the paneling, but as we remembered, we put some pretty interesting graffiti
Behind the
walls
paneling?
Behind the paneling.
Oh, very nice.
And when it came down, there were a lot of things that gushed up as far as A, memories, and B, yeah, we were not the nicest kids of the world.
Oh, that's funny, though. That's funny. Anything you can say on air? Anything you might be able to share with us?
There was spray-painted obscenities and body parts.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, no, I can imagine, and that's unbelievable. Yes, they say in this top 10 list here, yeah, a little coat of paint on the wall, maybe just do one wall. A little bit of a change is good in that area.
Yeah, they call them an accent wall these days.
Oh,
right?
Is that what it is?
One wall that has a different color than the others?
Yes,
Yeah,
we have to
accent wall.
we have 2 guys that come on the show and talk to us about design. Brendan McBreen and Joe McDougall both come on the show and they talk about design and they talk about concepts and things that you do. In my own home right now, we are doing pillow accents, which happens to be, let's see, it's in one of these things. Yes, pillow accents, number 6 on my list.
Yeah. Well, the big thing these days is open space, right? People want the kitchen into the living room, into the dining room. It used to be that you wanted them all separate because you didn't want the kitchen noise carried into the dining room, carried into the living room, and now it's all, sort of an open format.
Well, that California open look has been around for a while, but if the blending or the bleeding of space into other spaces so that everything becomes a place where you're just hanging out, I think is really good. If you're out there, right, and you've got this large coffee table, here's a great one. Go to a used bookstore and find old art books, old kind of books that could be opened up.
Coffee table books.
Coffee table books,
Gorgeous,
but they think that, if you do an accent wall, thank you for that, and also you get some used art books on your coffee table, just to give it a spruced up and a great look, and definitely get rid of anything that's, wood paneling. That's just that's not right. Houseplants.
Yeah, houseplants are good.
Oh, new houseplants, though, not that old, dried up. I had a house
Not fake ones.
No.
Real ones.
When I lived in New York City, and this is a long time ago, right in the 80s, I had one plant. And this plant, New York apartment in the 80s was a room maybe 15 by 20.
And you were happy you had it.
Oh, I was so happy. It was $600. It was a walk-up. It was on 66 between Madison and whatever that other street is.
Did you have a waiting list to get it in the first place?
No, I got it from my cousin.
Oh.
Who I then, passed it off to my brother. It was like one of those. Exactly. But I had one plant, and this plant was diseased and sick. Finally, somebody who actually knew about plants come to get rid of that plant. So if you're out there right now and you have plants, think about new plants. New plants, pillow accents, painting the wall, coffee table books. Think of another one.
There are places where you can take your plant back and return it if it's not well.
So you've been, you're basically giving back the plant. It's a give back plant.
Yeah.
No, I don't know how to give back. Okay, how about this one? Stencil the breakfast nook floor.
I've seen stenciling take place on walls and doors and cabinets and things, but the floor, that's a new one to me.
Well, they had a picture. Of course, I can't, radio being what it is, we could describe it to you, but I just can't show you.
You got a camera here.
Yeah, well, that's true. I could just stick up, but obviously it doesn't show very well on radio. But stenciling the floor, let's say you...
I hadn't thought about that.
No, I hadn't either. And, the other thing is a lot of people have ripped up the vinyl, and there's wood floor, and they sand it down, and it looks great. What would you be stenciling? A wood floor? A cement floor?
The big thing now is this chalk paint. Have you heard of chalk paint?
No.
Annie Sloan, which is actually a brand name at this point, has this chalk paint.
Right.
And you can paint virtually anything with this stuff, and it looks like
a
it's
chalkboard.
Yeah, like it's abstract paint, and it blends well and looks weathered when you paint it on, and you can buy old furniture and have it painted and still make it look old.
We did that, and again, we're constantly upgrading. And if you're out there right now and you're listening to this and you're wondering, what does this have to do with the mortgage? Anything you can do to improve the look of your house, and you're looking to either sell or you're just looking to live in it and you want to get a mortgage, you're going to have an appraisal done. They're going to come out, they're going to see the great job you've done, and you get a higher appraisal. Not a lot higher, but if it's in better shape than an old unfixed up house, you're going to get less of appraisal. So yes, it has a lot to do with your mortgage and a lot to do with, quality of life.
Yeah, happy surroundings.
Happy surroundings, absolutely right.
There's one particular television show, I believe it's a Canadian show, where the family wants to move out of their house for whatever reason, and one woman in particular stays there and fixes up their house the way she thinks that they would like it to stay, and the other guy who's an agent goes and finds them a new house that would fulfill their needs going forward, and then they make the decision whether once the house is fixed up to stay in the house or go to the new house.
That's great. What's the name of the show?
Love It or Leave It.
Love It or Leave It.
Or Leave It. And of course, the man and woman that are fight like cats and dogs because they're competing. They're competing.
It's a competition show
for the attention
I like
of the family.
I really like that. It's a kind
really
of a twist on the fix-up show.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm developing a show myself. The real estate show has to do with you have 3 buyers who are telling you their worst experiences with an agent, and so
cool.
the competition show is who's got the worst story, and there's a panel of judges, and it's
What do you win?
what do you win? You nothing.
Okay,
I mean
cool.
that's the
Like
best
a
part of
badge.
it.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's a
patch.
gong show.
Yeah.
Exactly
Dang.
right. Okay, so thanks, Daryl, very much.
Pleasure.
Couple other things we wanted to catch up with, just a little bit from earlier in the show. We were talking about the economy and what's going on there, and some of the people who I read about and what they're saying about the economy. It's very interesting because always at the peak of any economy, somebody's looking for the next shoe or the shoe to drop or the next worst thing to happen. I think the prognosticators on this particular economy are more interested in prognosticating the downfall of the president than necessarily the economy. Everybody forgets that 2008 was a long time ago, but for me, it was yesterday. So remember, when it's good and you're feeling good about the economy and your job, save a little for the future, but at the same time, enjoy it while it lasts. Anyway, I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your voice in the mortgage industry, and we'll see you next time.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. For more on today's topic, visit www.malibufunding.net.